My name's Artie Vierkant. I'm an artist based in New York, and this is an explainer video for my show Rooms Greet People by Name at Gallery Perrotin in New York on the Lower East Side. The show is comprised primarily of two distinct series, one of which is a series called Image Objects, which I've been engaged with more or less for about the last 8 years. The series comes out of an attempt to look at the moments of interstice between physical and virtual spaces and between material and immaterial objects, and to find how an art object can really live between those two spaces and be fully embodied in both physical and virtual space. So these two works in the exhibition, both of which are referred to generally as forms and light. Both of these works function in a very similar way to these kind of ubiquitous computing devices, sort of embedded within them or possibly nested onto them as through a scaffolding. One of the works, for example, has audio recording device. This is the work Form and Light for Listening device, and the other quite literally wears a body camera on the back of it, but also could record the events that transpire in the room, though presumably by the time the exhibition has finished, the storage will essentially have filled up, and it will then become this sort of dead hardware on the back of this object that will forever contain this information. So one of those series is a series called Image Objects, which I've been engaged with for more or less about the last 8 years. It started as this attempt to find a way to work with an art object in a way that really manifested at the interstice of, for lack of a better word, its physical and virtual manifestations, or through its material and immaterial means. I was, I think, frustrated a lot by the way that objects, art objects in particular, in order to encounter them, had to go to a specific place at a specific time. And I got really interested in the venue of dissemination itself, of circulation, as a space where the work could take on another life, or really inhabit its kind of own materiality within that space. So that manifests in a number of different ways, one of which is the method that you would encounter it within the space of the gallery. For example, if you visited Perrotin on the Lower East Side, which would be through these prints that you see on the wall. And then the other way that you could encounter the work is through basically any of the other forms in which that is disseminated. So throughout the series, every time that the work is photographed or I photograph it, I'll take those images and I will manipulate them. But in this case, I use it more like a blunt tool. The spaces get kind of stretched and contorted, or additional just other layers of abstraction get added onto the work to kind of confuse the boundary between what you might think would exist in the physical space and what actually only lives within the realm of the circulation of the work and the photograph. The final work in the exhibition is an app called Image Object, which is essentially a continuation that extends the space of installation and the exhibition itself beyond the boundaries of the gallery itself, but also which quite literally augments the experience of viewing the exhibition. Importantly, the work in functioning both within the exhibition and being tailored in some ways to it, but also in being able to be used or experienced completely outside of the exhibition, I think ideally complicates that relationship that we have between these virtual and physical experiences. And so, while a sculpture that I make may not be physically accessible to everyone, in a way these exist as their own type of sculpture, completely free-floating and in a very different type of space and experience.